howdy. I am on day 0 of a 9-day trip. The trip officially starts tomorrow, but it is Friday afternoon and I'm off work and I'm headed north. My plan is to get to Jacobs Lake area tonight. When I do these big trips, Jacobs Lake is a frequent kind of waypoint to try to get to on day 0, the Friday night before the trip officially starts, because it cuts down on a lot of the drive when you're trying to get way out of state through Utah, which is what I'm doing on this trip. I'm headed up to Idaho, to the Stanley area, the Sawtooth National Recreation Area, and I'm doing some backpacking in the White Cloud Mountains. This will be my first time back to that part of the country since 2014. So about 9 years ago, I did a big backpacking trip in the Sawtooth, and now I'm going on the other side of the Snake River Valley and hiking the White Clouds. So I'm really excited. I think I am going to make a video for this trip. I have fallen out of the habit of putting together videos. I've done a lot in the last couple years that never got captured and made into a video. I did a whole trip with my wife, driving the entire coast of Oregon, including the Redwoods and the Columbia River Gorge. I did an entire trip down the Grand Canyon, a river rafting trip. I did a whole trip around Southern California, including some backpacking in Death Valley that included like sleeping through a haboub. But I just kind of got out of the habit of making videos. I got a little burnt out on the videos that I was making a few years ago when I was more regular with it. But I'm hoping to get back into the habit with this trip. I'm going to do it a little bit differently than I used to do it. You know, my normal thing with my older videos was I just put footage together, kind of slap it together and throw a song over it and call it good. And I think part of the reason I got burnt out was that got a little boring creatively. So this trip I want to do more of kind of a narrative style, walk you through what I'm doing day to day, what my itinerary is, my sort of video diary of what I'm experiencing as I go through this trip. So we'll see if this ever sees the light of day, or if it's just stuck behind a slow-moving truck going uphill here. So we'll see if this footage ever sees the light of day on my public channel or not. But I think regardless of whether I put it out publicly, it'll be nice for me to have a video of a big trip, because it's been a while since I captured one of these big trips on video. So yeah, it should be good. Beautiful lakeside views, sunset views on Lake Mary. Good morning. I don't know if you can even see me. I am at the rim of Bryce Canyon. I made it to Jacobs Lake last night as planned. Got there about 10 and was there until about 3:30. Couldn't really sleep. And after tossing and turning for hours, I gave up and just decided to start driving. And I wasn't planning to come to Bryce, but I realized I was right near the turnoff, and it's about 15 minutes to sunrise here. So a Bryce sunrise is really special. I've been here a few times at sunrise, and it is the time to see the park, so couldn't pass up stopping to take a few minutes in. So I'm gonna walk between Inspiration and Sunrise Point or Sunset Point, and then back. Just do a little walk on the rim trail through the thickest part of the Bryce Amphitheater, and then I'll continue on to Panguitch and points north like I had originally planned. Well, that was awesome. I had the rim walk almost entirely to myself. You know, there's people, but they gather at the overlooks. You get a few feet down a trail, you can have it all to yourself. So that's it. Heading back to Inspiration Point, and then we're gonna head to points north. I've got a reservation at Great Basin for a cave tour. I don't know if I'm gonna make it timing wise, but we'll see. And I'm hoping, you know, with the way rec.gov is these days, I think a lot of people no-show for cave tours. So if I don't make it on the one I'm scheduled for, maybe having a ticket for today will let me get on a later tour, fill in for a no-show. So we'll see. All right. So this is a little roadside stop on my way north from Bryce. This is the childhood home of Butch Cassidy. He lived here from about 14 to 18, and the site's been restored by the Utah State Parks Department. Kind of cool. So this canyon of the Sevier River below the Big Rock Candy Mountain is just absolutely spectacular. I think this is the whitewater section of the Sevier. I've seen a few rapids, not big ones, or at least not this time of year. But this really makes me want to raft here, because this is absolutely spectacular just driving through. Yeah, on the list someday. It looks like it's got enough water. Oh, and there's a bike path too. Wow. Yeah, it's I've never been to this part of Utah before, but it is absolutely spectacular. I'm having a blast. Hey, so I'm now visiting Fremont Indian State Park. This is along I-70. It protects a variety of rock art sites. There's a great one right there. So this is a nice quick pit stop on the way north. Oh wow, yeah, there's tons. Wow, cool. So that was a hair-raising experience. Shortly after I drove out this side road to get a view of Notch Peak, as I was driving back to the main highway, rain started falling. Here, I'll show you kind of what it looks like here. And I started driving up towards this mountain pass that I'm now descending down from, and lightning struck twice, probably less than 100 feet from my car. Like literally, you know, maybe where that truck is, that was about how far away the lightning strikes were. I panicked. I was terrified. I've never seen lightning strike quite that close, and I mean, you can see here, there is no cover, right? The only protection is mountain peaks being higher than where I was. So I was totally fine. Just kept driving, heart beating fast, and nothing else happened. You know, there was more lightning kind of hitting the peaks around me as I drove through the pass. But wow, that felt like a very close encounter. I have never seen lightning that close before. I literally could see the spot where I hit the ground. Wow. Anyway, I had to throw that in. That was really something. Okay, so I think all is well now. It's still raining, but it's considerably more chill than it was just on the other side of these mountains, which I'll look up later and put what the name of these are. Now I'm on my way down, descending down towards Baker and Great Basin National Park, and the Snake. I think they're the Snake Mountains. I'm not sure, but it's the second highest peak I forget the name of the range, but the name of the peak is Wheeler Peak. It's the second highest peak in Nevada, and I've been there once. It was exactly 10 years ago. It was in 2013. So I'm excited to visit again. I'm hoping I can talk my way onto a cave tour, but even if I can't, I'm just excited to go yet. Yeah, you can see, I'm pretty sure that's the range. I think it's the Snake Range, but I'm not sure. But that's Wheeler Peak, you can see right there. So we're close now. Whew! Exciting times. Fremont Village that was excavated in the early 90s. I think all you really see today are the remains of the walls. I believe that they reburied it after the excavations. It's still an interesting sight to see. So I made it to Great Basin, but no dice on going on a cave tour. They do have accommodation for last minute tours, but you have to show up in the morning to book the same day. Like, you can't show up in the afternoon and get on a waiting list in case someone no-shows. Which I kind of figured this was going to happen, you know. And I've done the cave tour once before when I was here 10 years ago. It's still kind of a bummer. It would have been nice to do it again while I was in the area, but it's just kind of the way it goes these days. Recreation.gov is totally fucking ruined any kind of reserve ahead national park thing these days. It's just impossible. So is what it is. Fortunately, I have a backup plan. I've got some beta on a cave called Pictograph Cave that isn't advertised, but you can go explore at least the entrance, and as the name implies, there are some pictographs to check out there. I don't think you can actually enter the cave system, but it seems like it'd be worthwhile to go check out the pictographs. So I'm going to do that, and then we're going to keep moving north towards Idaho. Yeah, this looks promising, right? Enjoy, but do not destroy. Upper Pictograph Cave is closed. I do not see... Oh, shit. There it is. Okay, so we saw that Indian head up there, which I think is probably a settler carving, not an actual pictograph. There's a notice, no entry. So I don't think you can go further, even though it looks like you can walk right in. That's kind of a bummer. It smells cool. It smells cavey. But the pictographs, I think, are up here. So, kind of a cool consolation prize. These are the Ward charcoal kilns. They were used to make charcoal for refining ore. I've seen these in a few places. Death Valley, Cochrane in Arizona, but these are some of the biggest ones I've ever seen. Well, we're in a tricky situation. We have 52 miles to the closest gas station and about less than a quarter of a tank, almost an eighth of a tank, somewhere between the two. It's saying 80 miles to empty, but that's obviously an estimate. So I've turned the AC off. I've set the auto drive on for maximum efficiency. It's in the 60s rather than at 70 where the speed limit is. So hopefully we make it. If not, we'll call roadside assistance and get some gas. But I don't know, it just got away from me somehow. When I was heading into the West Desert, I stopped and tanked all the way to the top because I was worried about running out of gas out of there, and then I just kind of blew through Eli after Great Basin, not even really looking at my fuel level. So I think it'll be all right. I think we'll get there, but it's going to be close. So whew, made it. It was a squeaker. Warning light is on, but we're here. This historical site was a Japanese internment camp. I visited one of these before along 395 in California. This is a less restored location than the one in California. It was still interesting. Just a quick stop on the way north into the Sun Valley. So this is a site that I've been excited to visit for quite a while. I didn't know this was here, but this is one of the main slot canyons in Idaho, and it just happens to be along the driving route to Stanley. So a couple other people here, not too many, but I'm pretty excited to explore this. Well, I wasn't expecting this with the other cars parked at the rim, but it looks like they're doing a release right now, and that is high water, basically all the way up to the high water mark. Yeah, so the Black Magic Canyon is not accessible today. Yeah, see here, Black Magic Canyon begins near here, extends for about 15 miles downstream. If there's water in the canyon, stay away. So I hope the two people parked here are okay. I'm sure they are. But today is not the day for hiking and exploring Black Magic Canyon. I'm going to go back up the road to the ice caves. We have been heading north for quite a bit. We went through Haley and Ketchum. We're on the north end of Ketchum, Sun Valley, in the rich man's territory right now. But it's super beautiful. It's starting to get into the serious mountains here. So we're going to cross over Galena Summit and then head down to the Stanley Valley and the Sawtooth Valley. And I think we're going to get lunch in Stanley, and then from there, I think we're going to start hiking. But I've been enjoying the drive. It's super beautiful. You know, I've only been up here once before, and it was a long time ago. Hardly remember the details, right? So you come back, you see it much more the second time around, I think. So I'm really excited to get out into it. Well, that is it. After a long drive up the 4th of July road, I've now got my car set up. Everything is locked down, solar panels on. So the thing will charge while I'm gone. And we're at the 4th of July trailhead, about to head into the White Cloud Wilderness. Cecil B. Andrus White Cloud Wilderness. I think that's what it's technically called. So this is a pretty good map of the White Clouds Wilderness and the route that I'm going to be doing, which is called, at least on all trails, it's called the White Cloud Peaks Loop, I think. But it has a pretty significant section of off-trail, because you've got to get over, you know, the main ridge line of the White Clouds to make it into a loop, right? We're trying to get over to the Boulder Chain Lakes, and then once you're there, you can loop back on Good Trail over the Castle Divide and Chamberlain Divide back to the trailhead. But to make it into a loop, you have to connect the dots here, and there's multiple routes. The route that people used to use, some people still use it, goes right here. This is called the Devil's Staircase. This is a dangerous route. They do not recommend this anymore. Some people still do it. All Trails has a route where once you're at 4th of July Lakes and you come up to this tarn, from there you go up to the summit of Patterson Peak and then down this ridge line, which is called the Knife's Edge, and it's a pretty hairy ridge line, and then get down to Four Lakes Basin. The route that I'm doing, which I think is probably the safest way to approach this, involves from 4th of July Lake, crossing over into Ants Basin and down to the Bourne Lakes. All right, some day hikers came through, kind of startled me. So the route that I'm going to follow goes from 4th of July Lake, crosses over this pass, but rather than going to Patterson Peak and the Knife Edge, just follows this trail over into Ants Basin and the Bourne Lakes. And then from the Bourne Lakes, it's my understanding is it's a fairly easy climb up to this pass, and then you have a fairly steep traverse down into Four Lakes Basin. There's a snowfield up here that is corniced, and you have to kind of traverse around. So, and then from there you descend down to Quiet Lake, you climb up to Scree and Shallow Lake, and then up to this pass, which is called Windy Devil. And from there, then you pick up trail, and it's trail the rest of the way out. But there's a pretty fair stretch of complex off-trail that we're going to be tackling kind of right on the first day of the trip. And the biggest, I think, once you're in the Four Lakes Basin, this route is pretty well established up to the Windy Devil Pass and into the Boulder Chain Lakes. It's really the question mark is how do you get over the divide safely and down into the Four Lakes Basin. I think I have good beta, but there's definitely some unknowns here. And so I will see how it goes. I mean, worst case scenario, I can easily just, camp at Bourne Lakes and then hike back out, and turn it into an out and back. But I'm hopeful to be able to do the whole route because it looks really cool, and we'll see how it goes. Well, good morning. This is my campsite. Beautiful site. Beautiful lake. We had a little bit of a disaster here this morning. I sat down to have breakfast, and as I was unpacking the food bag, I had put this in the food bag overnight, and I don't think I was really paying attention last night, but when I pulled it out this morning, totally empty. This was supposed to be a full bottle. This is my, this is methanol. I use this as stove fuel. I believe that this evaporated, it spilled out while I was driving, and I just didn't notice it yesterday. It was sitting up in the roof box, maybe a little inverted, and I guess it leaked out or something, but I don't have stove fuel for this trip. So that sucks. I do have, this normally travels in my cook kit, and I didn't refill it, but this is the fuel supply I use for like 2 to 3 night trips, when I don't want to carry the full size thing. So this has a little bit of fuel. I can use this for at least 1 night, and if I'm conservative, maybe 2. And I think I can probably also cook the old-fashioned way over a campfire, which I've never actually done. I always use stoves, but so I was a little annoyed and briefly contemplated, okay, does that mean I need to abort the trip? But I don't think that it does. I think I can make it work without the stove fuel. Just find workarounds. The other thing is this thing leaked last night, but thanks to having a lake right here, I was able to find where the leak is. The stick is marking it, so I'm going to tape that up this morning, and then we'll get on our way. And this morning is the tough one. from here we're crossing over to the Bourne Lakes, and then we've got a good stretch of off trail to get up to the Boulder Chain Lakes. So it'll be a tricky day, but this day will really be the test if this route is going to go or not, or if we'll have to turn back and just do an in and out. So we will see. So this is a little unnamed tarn on the way up over to Ants Basin. The All Trails route departs trail from here and kind of climbs up this ridge to the top of Patterson Peak. And then on the far side of Patterson Peak is Knife Edge Ridge. We are not going to be doing that. I think that looked pretty tricky. So our route continues on this way, up and over a pass and down to Ants Basin. So a little bit more up and down probably, but quite a bit safer, I think. We're here overlooking Ants Basin. Amazing view. From here you can get an idea of the route. So the Devil's Staircase is this, let's see here, this notch right here with the little pillar in the middle of it. Some insane person's idea of a route. The route from the guidebook goes over this pass here. And this I thought for a second it might have been this as a lower pass, but this just slopes up into the rock, as far as I can tell from the map. So I'm pretty sure that flat plain between the two peaks is where we're aiming. And you have to go far side of it and then come up. So that'll be the next couple hours, getting over there and getting up over that pass. And that's the kind of the crux here. I set up my planning to tackle the hardest part of the route first. So if it doesn't go, we can just back out. But we're going to tackle the crux here in a couple hours. So right here gives you a good view of the Devil's Staircase. Zoom in. So you see this little, this little crooked talus slope with the little spire at the top. That's the Devil's Staircase. Like a 45-degree slope of slidey, loose talus. It has a reputation for being quite dangerous and exposed. So I say no thank you. Where we're going is up here. I'm going to zoom back out. As I understand it, this is Bourne Lakes Pass. So we're going to traverse around, and then there's a chute that goes up to the pass in the middle of the photo. And then I understand the ascent up is pretty straightforward. It's on the other side where you have to kind of pick your line down, because there's normally a snowbank with some cornices, and so you have to sort of pick your way around that. This late in the year, I don't know if the snowbank will still be there, but it was a big winter, so who knows. Well, we made it. We are halfway through the crux and crossing over, I guess this is Bourne Lakes Pass or Four Lakes Basin Pass. Whew. We still have to find the route down, and that can sometimes be a little more hairy. Just because you have to keep your balance, and you know, it's all like loose talus, but it really wasn't that bad coming up here. And it's super beautiful. You can see over here Ant Basin and far off the Sawtooth, and then this is heading into the White Clouds. Down below here is Four Lakes Basin. So we're crossing over the main divide of the range and heading into the heart of the wilderness. So good stuff, man. So this is Four Lakes Basin. I forget the name of all of them, but I think the bigger one is Emerald. And now the key question is, how the hell do we get down from here? It looks like there's a chute directly below us, but pretty steep. And maybe you can pick your way through this chute. I don't know what that looks like yet. I'm not sure. We'll figure it out. Found a cairn. Really is quite a lifesaver, because I was quite uncertain what way it goes, but it looks like that really shitty chute that I saw from the top is probably the way here. So I tried to go over here, and it got really cliffy. It looked like you could get down to maybe 100 feet above the lake, but then it looked like it's just a sheer drop. So this looks like the way to go. And if necessary, we'll crab walk it. All right, we'll check in again from the bottom. Well, I made it. It was pretty hairy. I don't know. It's pretty similar to some trails I've done in the Grand Canyon. You're basically just coming down scree slope. I kind of clung to this ridge. Let's see here. Here. As far as I could, because the rock there was a little bit more stable. But then you're just kind of picking your way down. So that should be the last of the hard stuff. We're still technically off trail. We'll be off trail until we get over Windy Devil Pass. From here, my understanding is it's pretty straightforward to follow, and you can even see the trail is pretty beat in here. So the class 3 part of this is over. It was not too bad. I would do this again. You know, but it's definitely class 3. It's not super straightforward, and God knows I wouldn't want to do the trail over the Devil's Staircase or the All Trails route over Patterson Peak. So I think I'm going to head down to Quiet Lake. This is Cornice Lake right here, and from here we descend a little bit to Quiet Lake, and then we start climbing up towards Windy Devil. Yeah, there's that devil's staircase from the other side now. Looking at it from this side, it looks even more impossible. Whoever came up with that route is a lunatic. The way I went was longer, but super beautiful. Lots of beautiful alpine lakes. Easy to follow. So yeah, I definitely think I went the right way. And now I'm on top of the bench that the Devil's Staircase deposits you onto. So it's just a short walk from here to Windy Devil Pass, and then we should pick up Mark Trail again. All right, so that is Cardiac Peak, and these are the Boulder Chain Lakes. This lake is called Scoop Lake for obvious reasons. The one further off, that's called Hourglass Lake. It does look on the map like it's shaped like an hourglass. Can't really see it from here. This one here is called Headwall Lake, and according to the map, there's actually a lake way tucked up in there called Lonesome Lake. I don't know if we're going to make it to that one. And then to the right of Hourglass Lake is a lake called Hidden Lake, and there's another one there whose name I forgot. And this is just the upper basin. There's a whole string of lakes in the lower basin as well. Well, I don't usually make fires when I'm by myself, but I'm out of fuel, so I made a cooking fire. Seems to be working. We'll see. It's blackening up my pot anyway, so I assume that's a good sign. This is Hatchet Lake. We're now down in the lower Boulder Chain Lakes basin. We're out of the high country where we started the day. I've been seeing a bit more sign of stock use, but it's still pretty beautiful. Hatchet Lake obviously makes me think of the book by Gary Paulson, Hatchet, about a kid who survived on a lake for half a year. This actually looks quite a bit like I pictured the lake in the book. I'm pretty sure that's the Castle Divide where we're headed. There's Castle Peak and Marion Peak. I wish there was a good way to convey how massive this thing is. It's incredible. All right, up we go. Well, that's day 3. I'm camped here by Upper Chamberlain Lake. I hiked as far back as I could get, and now I'm going to enjoy the view and have some dinner, and then should be out of here tomorrow and done with the backpacking part of the trip. Well, we made it back to 4th of July Lake, so we have successfully closed the loop, and from here it's just a couple miles hike back to the car. But barring some serious disaster, it's another trip successfully done. So, oh man, wow. I will check in with you again once we get back to the car and have a think about what we're going to do next. Good morning. It is the morning after my backpacking trip to the White Clouds. I didn't really do anything notable yesterday. I just kind of went and had pizza in town, drove around a little bit. I camped down by the Salmon River. Then this morning I decided to go and hike to Ladyface Falls near Stanley Lake, which was okay. It's actually really hard to see those falls. The way the rock ledges are, they're sort of sloping and a little dangerous, so you can only sort of get a glimpse of it from around a corner. So that was okay as a destination, but what's really special here is Stanley Lake was fogged in this morning, and the fog has lingered even though the sun is up now. I started hiking just before sunrise, so I'm just enjoying the fog, walking back to the car, and then we're going to do a couple different things today from here. Well, that was fun. I'm not sure if this bike path has a name. But this right here is the Big Wood River. So maybe it's the Big Wood River bike path, and it runs into Ketchum. I didn't get much footage on the bike. I don't have a GoPro mount on my current bike helmet. So, but that was a lot of fun, man. There's something about riding the bike that just is, it's like wee. Even for a short little ride. This was maybe only, I don't know, 5 or 6 miles, but lots of fun. So, okay, time to get through Ketchum and Sun Valley and start heading south. Well, I'm officially out of the Sawtooth Valley. I'm back in Twin Falls. I visited the Shoshone Falls, which is just a trickle right now. And then I drove down to Idaho Centennial Waterfront Park, which is the one place you can drive up to river level, so that was kind of cool. And there's a really nice view of the Perrine Bridge here. I think this flag is because September 11th was 4 days ago. When I first drove through here on my way to the Sawtooth Valley, there was a park that was filled with hundreds of small flags, and I'm betting that this flag was hung up around that time too. I just didn't see it from the top of the bridge. Oh yeah, that's cool. It sounds like there's a waterfall there. Small one. Alright, so after this, I don't know if you can see that there's a crack right there, and there's actually a big waterfall in there called Perrine Coulee Falls. So I'm going to try to park at that turn and sneak over to see that falls. You can also hike in from the bottom, but I'm feeling kind of lazy. So we'll see if we can sneak in and get a look at that falls next. Well, my plan did not work out. There were no parking signs all over that corner. So I decided to just hike up at least this far where I can get a nice view and some photos. I think you can hike all the way to the base of the falls, but I'm not going to dick around with all that. Still, very nice waterfall. Twin Falls is actually a pretty cool place to visit if you're into waterfalls. Besides the obvious Shoshone Falls, there's all these little side falls falling into the Snake River. I was here in 2021, and there's a whole bunch of them over at the west end of town too, protected as a series of state parks: Niagara Springs State Park and Ritter Island and Mallard Gorge and Box Canyon. I think this is probably second only to the Columbia River Gorge in terms of just the concentration of big waterfalls to check out. You wouldn't necessarily think of it. I mean, it's Twin Falls, it's in the name, but it's kind of otherwise potato country Idaho. But there's actually a lot to see and do here. Anyway, so now I've got to do a few town chores. I got to get gas. I've been craving a salad, so I'm going to buy a salad. And if they have a Planet Fitness here in town, I'm going to try to get a shower. And then the plan for the end of the day is we're going to head over about an hour and a half west to Bruno. I'm not sure exactly how you say it, but it's about midway between here and Boise, and there's a state park there with dunes, and which is mildly interesting. Dunes are not necessarily my favorite. They're worth checking out usually. But the other thing that Brunel has, Bruno, however you say it, is there's a canyon called Brunel Canyon that you can drive right up to this really beautiful overlook. If you have a four-wheel drive vehicle, you can actually camp on the rim of the overlook. It's BLM land. So that's the plan for tonight, is to make our way over there and try to find a campsite on the rim of the canyon. So that's it. Talk to you later. Well, we made it. This is Brunel Dunes State Park. Open till 10, so I was able to squeeze in for the day. This should be cool. So one thing that guide said that is actually pretty interesting is this is the tallest single sand dune structure in North America, which is interesting because I thought Great Sand Dunes in Colorado were the tallest sand dunes, but maybe this is the tallest single dune. Great Sand Dunes is a little bit more extensive. I don't know. Interesting though. Forgive the soundtrack, they're doing road work down there, so a little bit of heavy machinery for background noise, but I just had to capture this. This is really beautiful. It wasn't too hard to get up to the crest of the range. Once you walk in on top here, the sand is pretty soft, but it's just beautiful. I've never seen with like wetlands like that before, you know, so super cool. Oh, look at all the ducks out there. Well, got up this morning intending to take my GoPro down, which I had put up for a time lapse. And look who is lurking right under my bike rack.
think I'll be moving the car. Before I take that GoPro off. Well, good morning. I shot this yesterday, but I pulled up to this spot basically right at sunset, so I don't know how good that video came out. So I'm shooting a more kind of serene and hopefully better narrated video this morning. But this is the Bruno Canyon overlook. This is just spectacular. I had it totally to myself last night and this morning, and I camped over just over there a little bit, basically right on the edge of the canyon. Really spectacular campsite, and I had this entire area to myself. So we are in Owyhee County in Idaho, which is an area I've been wanting to explore for a long time. This is one of those places that gets talked about lovingly by locals. It's kind of off the main radar of national park visitors, but well known for outdoor recreationists, and this is my first time visiting. Just spectacular, man, oh man. Big, empty, nothing. This is one lonely road. Okay, we are headed into the Moyle Canyon, which is a big valley, big canyon, and in the Ruby Mountains just above Elko, Nevada. I had early lunch in Elko, and now we're heading up into the mountains just outside of town. This is probably the thing I've been looking forward to most in Nevada. I didn't necessarily have a plan for this trip, but it looks like we got enough time to go at least drive up there and check things out, and then come back down and continue heading south. The Moyle Canyon, I've heard multiple sources say it is like the Yosemite Valley of Nevada, which I'm guessing is probably a little bit hypey, but it's an indicator that it's probably good. Worth checking out. This is Lamoille Lake and our turnaround for today. Oh. Heading back down.
high expectations for the Rubies, and they fully lived up to it. I can't believe you can drive to this area just right out of town. I was not expecting to hike. I kind of thought I would just drive up the scenic drive and sightsee a little bit. But once I got up here, I knew I had to check it out. And I kind of got roped into a longer trail than I was thinking. The sign said 2.4 miles. I think that was the one-way distance. But I made it all the way up to the Lamoille Lake, the lake space, and up top there. And it's just phenomenal, man. This is a really out of the way, you know, like when else do you come to northern Nevada? But this was worth the detour, 100%. So I'm gonna head back down to Elko now, and then we start wheeling south through Nevada. I got a bunch of different little roadside stops mapped out that I might check out along the way. So we'll see what we got time for, and we'll just sort of get more acquainted with rural Nevada. Yeah. All right. Probably hard to see with the glare and all the bugs, but I'm driving through rural Nevada, heading towards Austin, Nevada. Eventually this road will go to Carson City, but the reason I'm heading up here, I've got waypoints for just a couple little points of interest to check out to wrap the day up. The first place we're going, we'll be there in about 8 miles, is called Dickinson Petroglyph Recreation Area. And I know nothing about it other than the word petroglyph made me think it was probably worth checking out. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to go to Austin to refuel. And then I think we're probably done for the day. There's another place called Tokima Cave that I'd like to check out, but I don't think we can get all the way up there tonight. So we'll likely drive at least part of the way into the forest and then set ourselves up to check out Tokima, spelled with a Q, Tokima Cave in the AM tomorrow. But for now, we're going to check out Dickinson Petroglyphs. Oh, is that for real? Oh, that's amazing. Wow. That is much more extensive than I was expecting. Wow. Over here too. Yep. All down here. Arrow scratches. Wow. Now those are really amazing. I thought we were done. I thought it was mostly that one boulder. Well, that was a lovely night. I'm in the Toyabe Mountains at the Bob Scott campground. After the lovely near sunset hike at Hickam and Petroglyphs, I drove over the Toyabe crest and into Austin, Nevada yesterday, and impulsively I decided to drive up this little road behind the gas station to this building called Stokes Castle, which was really cool. It was lit up with amber lights in the night. It made for some really cool photographs. This was a summer home that was built by one of the mine owners in that area back in like 1897. Just really neat to check it out in you know, the setting sun. And then I drove back up the crest of the Toyabe to camp. So this will be, I've now visited all 3 of the
big mountain ranges of northern Nevada, the Toyabe, the Ruby Mountains, and yesterday I drove through the Jar Bridge. I've had my eye on all three of those for potential backpacking trips. And I guess along with the Snake Mountains, which I visited earlier in this trip, and then the Spring Mountains, Mount Charleston, just outside of Vegas, is the only big mountain range that I haven't been to. But I've been looking forward to this back half of the trip, exploring a little bit of Nevada, which is not a state, despite being right next to Arizona, it's not a state that I know a ton about. You know, mostly where I've explored has been around Las Vegas, you know, Valley of Fire, Red Rock Canyon, Death Valley, and you know, there's a whole other side to the state that I just hadn't spent any time in. So that was one of the things I wanted to do with this trip, was spend some time exploring the rest of the state. So this is the last full day of the trip. We're gonna drive down from the Toyabe today and kind of make our way south towards Las Vegas. I've got a variety of little sites mapped out to check out along the way. We're gonna drive the extraterrestrial highway past Area 51 and Nellis Air Force Base, so that should be cool. And yeah, let's go. That was super cool. I'll put some more, the GoPro doesn't zoom in and out, so I'll put some more close-up photos here. But yeah, really neat. I've heard this referred to as one of the best preserved examples of pictographs in North America. Maybe preservation-wise, that's true. I think, you know, some of the Fremont-style petroglyphs, or Barrier Canyon style petroglyphs, or pictographs rather, up in Utah, because they have the human anthropomorphic shapes. They're more haunting, like Buckhorn Wash and the Great Gallery. But this was really impressive. The variety of colors and geometric shapes. I couldn't really figure out, you know, what the interpretation of it might be. But it's really neat to see, and as always, worth the long detour to get out to the middle of nowhere here. So, all right, headed south to Tonopah. So here's a weird one. All right, this is the next stop, and probably the last major stop for this trip. I got a couple petroglyph sites marked on the way, but I think they're pretty minor. But this, I think, is gonna be pretty cool. Holy guac. Whoa. Oh, that's cool.
reminds me of driving through Death Valley. We're heading down the extraterrestrial highway. We're gonna pass Groom Lake, Area 51, that is. And then I have a couple of small rock art sites tagged. Depending on how far they are from the highway, we'll check them out. And we should be in Vegas by about 5 or 6, probably 6. Well, after quite a bit of hunting, I did manage to find one good panel. I suspect there's more in this area, but I just couldn't find it. Kind of wandered. I went up the wash and then circled back down here. These boulders are all pretty sun exposed, so that might be a factor. This looks like the find of the place. Wow. Okay, that's actually pretty cool. I think that's gonna wrap this video, and I'll check in with y'all later. Well, final day. I slept just outside of Kingman yesterday, which I thought would be too cold, but it was actually pretty pleasant. Kingman's at about 5,000 feet, and it was 70s to 60s overnight. So I guess it really is starting to cool off, at least in the higher country. We're finally starting to move out of summer, but I have a feeling Phoenix is still going to be quite hot. But this was an amazing trip. It was great to get back to the Sawtooth Valley. The White Clouds was amazing, and the kind of backpacking trip that I haven't done in several years that I'd like to spend more time doing, that kind of thing. And the whole drive, south through Idaho and Nevada was and a whole adventure in itself, just seeing some of the remote parts of those two states, which I have a lot less familiarity with than like Utah, Colorado. Yeah, just top to bottom, a really amazing trip. So I'm headed on, what is this, I-40 east. This is actually probably the most significant stretch of interstate that I've done on this whole trip, about 80 miles of interstate, which was another aspect of the trip that I really like. 95% of the driving I did was off of interstate, not dealing with big trucks, not dealing with heavy traffic. But I'm going over to Ash Fork, and then I'm going to route down through Prescott and Prescott Valley, and I might stop and do a short hike in Prescott just to break up the drive and take advantage of, not being in Phoenix this morning, to squeeze one last little thing in on the way home. But really, this is the end of the trip. So, yeah, I think that's all I gotta say for now. I don't have any big lessons to take away. Just everything top to bottom was amazing. This was the first trip with the Outback Wilderness, the first big trip, and it did incredible. And so I want to start making some videos specific to my setup in the car. I might start writing about it rather than making videos. I don't know, but yeah, I think that's all I got right now.